Motocross for me is the free spirit. When you're on your dirt bike, it's your personality shining. You get to show who you are without actually speaking.
It's the combination of the culture, it's the combination of the closeness of the whole community, and just the raw aggression and passion all mixed into one.
When I'm on the track, everything else just goes behind me, and so all you have to do is focus on stuff about you, and just that makes it really fun.
It's like the NFL of motocross, and you go really fast and jump pretty high.
The Pacific Northwest is known for its natural beauty. In the midst of this tranquility, engines roar to life. Adrenaline rushes, hearts pound. The hassles of daily life fade away. Racers live for these moments. Motocross is a sport for all ages, a family weekend at a favorite track. But for some, it's a way of life, a passionate quest to be the fastest rider in the nation, or the world. This rider has one goal in mind, to become the best and race every moment of his life. Tommy Week, born and raised in the Northwest. At the age of 5, his father bought him a dirt bike, and his journey to the top began.
For my 5th birthday, my dad came home with a pink PW50, and all of a sudden I just started riding around the yard. Started doing a local race series. At the time it was called SIR, which is now Pacific Raceways, and it took off from there. It's something that I had so much passion for that I wanted it so bad. That's all I wanted to do with my time. So thankfully I had parents that were financially able to take me to do it and supported my dream for it.
Tommy's passion to become a great rider drove him and his father to hit the racetracks every weekend. He progressed into the amateur series to achieve the dream of going pro. In 2011, Tommy lined up against 40 of the best riders at his home track in Washougal, Washington. When the gate dropped, it was time to show that he belonged.
I had been working just extremely hard on a privateer program. Woke up that morning and I had a mission. I had a mission I was set on. I didn't know where I could be, but I knew I could be up front. To get where I got, I actually fell back a couple of positions to where I finished. It was hard though. It was a privateer bike. I didn't have the factory support. You know, my bike probably weighed 6-7 pounds more than theirs, and when I hit the 20-minute mark, my suspension was a pogo stick versus their stuff was probably just starting to work really good. After the first moto, I had run the bike so hard that in the second moto, it was almost in a limp mode. When I got off the track, I couldn't even refire the bike after the second moto because the top end was so smoked. It literally fried the bike in the first moto to where the second moto I was just kind of rolling around. So I didn't get to back it up to see what I could have gotten for an overall. You know, I believe my fitness was incredible. I wasn't lacking fitness by any means. I was just trying to do what I could to show how much I loved that sport.
With friends and family hanging over the fence cheering him on, Tommy shocked the professional circuit and finished in the top 10 in the first moto on a bike unmatched from the rest in his class. By displaying his love for the sport, Tommy caught the attention of factory teams the following year, and he was offered a chance to prove himself on Team Rockstar Energy Yamaha for the 2012 motocross season.
I got on to the team while they had a break, flew straight out to Minnesota to race Red Bud National. It was a 110 plus heat index, so that was one of the gnarliest races of my career. First moto, they said I was 30 to 40 seconds behind last place, and I came up into 16th or 17th that first moto. And then the second moto, I got a pretty good start, top 15, and I worked up to about 6th or 7th place. I ended up 7th. Team was very happy. Everything was really gelling at that point. The team owner had actually told me at the end of that day, he said, if you can do this same result next weekend at the following event, we'll have a contract for you for the next year. I went home, got into California, went to my first day of practice track, and unfortunately the bike bogged down the downhill in a compound tib fib. To be honest, I still have nightmares to this day about that crash. The way I free fell about 30 to 40 feet in the air going down a hill, and I still gimp on my leg from it. I had to have 14 screws, 3 plates, just in my lower tib fib. There goes the Star Yamaha contract, and there was the year.
After Tommy's devastating crash, injuries began to pile up and take its toll on his body.
Oh! Damn! He flipped. That could have been a lot more violent.
With some spare time on his hands, Tommy took a step back and found a new love in the motocross world. Aside from racing professionally, Tommy enjoys mentoring children and helping them achieve the same goal he had of becoming a pro.
being where I am now, 25 years old, not that I'm old by any means, but in our sport, I'm getting to that older state. Now the dream is to be involved with dirt bikes, to coach, to give back to the sport that I've gotten to love so much. Now to where I'm at with doing my lessons and coaching like I am, I have broken a lot of bones, and I'd like to see some of the people that I work with not go through those mistakes that I have. It's taken me a long time to settle down to where I've been safer on my dirt bike. I don't take the same risks that I was when I was chasing the AMA circuit, and now that I've kind of found my niche in the Northwest racing purse races, and I have more fun with it. It's more relaxing for me, and it just keeps my ball rolling. I get to wake up every day and say I love what I get to do. The weekends that we go to the tracks and we get to watch the little 5-year-olds that are just starting on their KTM 50s and watch them with their parents smiling. I mean, I get excited talking about it just now because it's so much of a family sport, and the effort that people put towards it, it just makes it such an incredible feeling. When you're growing up, your dad's your mechanic, your mom's taking you most of the time to the track while she's making you food, and I mean, it's just so much more of a support program, because dirt bikes, they're a lot more dangerous than an average sport. You know, yeah, you get the concussions in football, you can throw your arm out in baseball, but I mean, when we're riding dirt bikes, you're putting your life on the line. At every time you throw your leg over, you don't know when it could be an unfortunate event.
Within the sport lies the dangers of injury or a sudden change in life. In some cases, there are times when a dark shadow casts over the racing community and brings racing to a halt.
Now a community is coming together after a tragic loss. A teenage boy dead after an accident at a local motocross track. His best friend was right beside him. Chris Holmstrom has been following the latest in the 17-year-old's death.
I was making lunch and heard an explosion and my whole world went upside down. I didn't know, I knew what happened, but I didn't know who it was until I got up on top of the jump.
Dylan Benell was a teenage boy with two things on his mind: to have fun on his dirt bike and build friendships. When he was 15 years old, Dylan and his father Bob surfaced onto a racetrack and found themselves in a new environment, a community Dylan would help change.
He was so goofy all the time. He never got mad. He was always laughing, super energetic.
He would act like he was 12 and everything and just make everything fun and joke around and have a good time.
I don't know that I ever knew anybody, any teenage boy that was as nice as he was. He was special.
Dylan fell in love with the sport after the first time he threw his leg over a bike. From tearing up the dirt in his backyard, it became clear he had one goal on his mind.
He lived for it. You could see the smile through his helmet. He just loved it. Working on bikes, riding bikes, watching them, reading about them. It was his dream. It was just the fun of doing things and being around people. Win, lose, or draw, he didn't care.
Dylan pushed himself and started winning races left and right. He excelled to the top of his competition and amazed his friends and family, and won the Clark County Arena Cross Championship in 2014, the first race series he competed in.
The first couple weekends, yeah, I'm like, okay, this was luck of the draw. But then I started watching him at practices. He's got this. If he wants it, he's got it.
Aside from Dylan's talent on his bike, he brought something new to the motocross community: his outgoing and loving personality.
We were at Mountain View, and I was there on a Tuesday for a practice day with Brock. Scott was at work, so I had to be the one to help him with getting the bike out of the truck. And here comes Dylan. Can I help you guys with that? Oh, let me help. Okay, great. And I told Brock, I said, God, what a nice kid. And it was just like this instant connection. It was like this kid that I didn't know he knew who we were, but he would have done it for anybody.
He changed me in ways too. He wouldn't leave the trailer without saying I love you, and he wouldn't take off, let the gate drop without saying I love you. And I had a dad come to me and said, thank you. Now my kid tells me that. I didn't do it, Dylan did it. It's just the way he was. He was a crazy little punk. I caught him one night at Clark County. I said, why are you so dirty? He's like, oh. I said, well, I thought, weren't you ever playing video games? And maybe. So I walked and looked in the arena, and it's all the little 65 riders that built a little dirt bike track on top of a jump, and there he is playing with them. He just loved life.
He was someone you could always count on. He would never, ever put anyone down. He was just my best friend. I loved him more than anything, and I loved working on his bikes with him and riding around on the back of his bikes and falling on the pit bikes with him, and I just loved it.
Many a post he'd put on Facebook, and he'd tell you to live it to the fullest. Don't second guess it. Just go big or go home. He had a heart that was the size of the moon.
Dylan brought families together, and he reminded people that getting to know your competition can create friendships and build a stronger community. On the day of his funeral, they returned the love to Dylan and his family to let them know how much he meant to them.
They just took over. I did nothing. They did it all for me.
Did that help you a lot?
Oh, immensely. My family, everybody, came out of the woodwork. People we'd never met.
It was so awesome. The amount of people that showed up, people that didn't even know him showed up. It was such a wonderful tribute to him. People bringing their bikes.
I know him passing really opened a lot of people's eyes to how much an impact someone like that could make on a whole entire community. I mean, not just like a small amount, but people from Canada came down to his funeral. He impacted so many people, and just one of a kind.
With Dylan's passing taking a toll on the community, there is one rider who wanted to keep the 264 on the track, his best friend, Anthony Hamilton.
It's I don't even know a good word to use to describe it. It's hard, but real good. It's a positive, I guess, is the best way to say it. There's kids out there that want to keep him on the track.
Today, Anthony rides in honor of his best friend. Racing all the tracks in the Northwest together, being teenagers, and now having Dylan watch over him helps Anthony race his dirt bike and do what he loves. Together, they ride as one. For those who want to be involved in the racing community, but not follow the same path as other riders, there can be an alternative route you can go down. Meet Justin Wharton, a Northwest native who found himself bringing his art to life instead of twisting the throttle.
I always loved drawing, but it was definitely specifically based around motocross. I'd be 11, 12 years old, and I'd take these black and white copies of like helmets or bikes, and I still got hundreds of sketches of all the designs I'd draw out on them, and it was just something I always liked. I liked drawing, and I liked motocross, and so I just found ways to combine those.
In high school, Justin only wanted one thing, to bring his art and love for motocross together. After 4 years of college, Justin found himself in a position to join the motocross community.
Actually today, I can say I'm the youngest person to ever write for Cycle News. So I was traveling to a lot of the races already to write my Cycle News articles, and the money I actually made from years of writing is what saved up to buy my initial equipment.
Once Justin was able to get the materials he needed, JJW Designs was born and quickly took off in 2002.
As of now, I believe I'm the oldest graphics company in the Northwest. We make motocross graphics, jersey printing, decals, stuff like that. I knew so many people in the industry was my life. It was easy to integrate my business into just the people I saw every day.
With a successful graphics company helping riders with design needs, Justin wanted more. In 2007, Justin became involved in promoting racetracks such as Hindsight and Castle Rock before moving over to Mountain View MX Park in Sandy, Oregon.
I went out to Mountain View a lot just to ride, and then me and the Hewitts started just chatting one day. I missed running races, missed promoting, and they're like, "Whoa, hey, we could always use some help getting riders in, letting them know about our series." And one thing became another, and I'm working with them for their 2016 season.
With Justin's love and passion, he creates races that can provide an income to help riders, as well as create opportunities for newcomers to join the sport.
A few things that I came up with were like the PW50 class. I offer a PW class for free for the entire year. I started this back at Castle Rock, carried it over to Mountain View. That program was because I wanted the little guys to be able to get into racing, and I'm trying to do what I can to get them into it, and honestly away from T-ball and everything else. Because I know once they're in, most of those guys are gonna be hooked, and they're gonna stay in forever. Pro race was honestly because it's a rough life. I mean, a privateer motocross racer is a tough life. I sponsor a couple guys right now who are living in their van, going from round to round of the Supercross series, just trying to make a buck. It's not an easy life. I wanted to come up with an idea, something to where they could get a little back. And so $10,000 pro race. There's riders who will come out who have raced the entire national series, and they'll make more money at my race than they did that entire national series. So if I can afford to do it, and if I can make that happen, why not? If I have a guy come up to me and tell me, because of your race, I was able to hit the next few nationals that I didn't think I could go do, man, that's more satisfaction than having money in the bank. You work these long hours, and there's been times where I do 16-hour days, day after day after day. Sometimes it's just that little bit, that one handshake, that one high five, that like, all right, knowing, okay, you're giving back to the community that I live for.
Motocross lives on through the tight-knit community that keeps boys and girls twisting the throttle, and parents who sacrifice everything to pursue their children's dreams. For Tommy, being involved for the next generation keeps him involved in the sport he calls his life. Dylan Benell is remembered at every racetrack, and Justin is still finding ways to give back to the community. As RPMs build, the gate drops, and it's a race to the finish line.